Welcome to this course on how to price your MVP. During the next 10 minutes, you will learn about how to conduct customer development, how to combine pricing models, and how to create viable pricing strategies for your product. So let's get started. Once your MVP is ready, it's time to do customer development to test your assumptions. During this customer development or customer validation phase, your goal is to obtain hard evidence regarding the possible success of your business model. You really need to take the time to find out whether your assumptions are correct before you spend any more time and money on marketing and building the product. There are 3 types of assumptions you need to test. First, there are pricing-related assumptions, which is also what we're going to focus on in this course. Testing your customer's willingness to pay at an MVP stage is absolutely critical for medium and long-term success. If customers are interested in using your product but are not willing to pay for it, you basically don't have a business case to begin with. You need to apply a mix of pricing models and pricing strategies to determine the best price point for your MVP. We'll look at these in a bit more detail later. Next, there are product-related assumptions. You need to talk to potential customers and make sure that you identified a real problem and that your proposed solution actually solves this problem. Also, validate whether the core features you are showcasing in your MVP create real value for your customers. The third type of assumptions you need to validate are around your ideal customer profile. Did you correctly define customer segments that have a strong need for your product? Also, did you identify the best channels to reach them on? And did you craft a compelling message to attract and convert them? These are the 3 types of hypotheses you need to validate as soon as your MVP is ready and in your hand. You might be wondering where you can find those early adopters to get feedback from. There are actually several channels you can use to source them. Some of them would be direct email outreach, it can be outreach on LinkedIn, it can be engagement in communities, it can be referrals from your colleagues or your friends, or it can just be talking to someone at a coffee shop and having a face-to-face conversation with them. So this was the customer development part. As mentioned, one important aspect of it is to validate your pricing assumptions and decide on a pricing strategy. Many founders actually struggle to determine the price point for their MVP. Quite often, they're even tempted to offer it for free or at a highly discounted rate because they don't really feel confident that the product is good enough yet. Whenever you feel tempted to offer your product for free, please keep this quote in mind. Price is what you pay, and value is what you get. As long as your product creates real value for your customers, they will always pay, every single time. So don't give your product away for free. But then, how do you actually determine your price point? You can follow a simple 2-step process. In a first step, have a look at the 2 most common pricing models for digital products, which are value-based pricing and competition-based pricing. These 2 pricing models combined will allow you to set a realistic price range based on your competitors' prices and your customers' willingness to pay for the value you create for them. In a second step, select your preferred pricing strategy. You can choose from 3 strategies, which are penetration pricing, skimming pricing, and premium pricing. Your pricing strategy takes the price range that you identified during phase 1 as baseline. From there, you will then decide if you want to either enter the market at a lower price point to win the maximum share in the beginning and then increase the price over time, which is penetration pricing. Or maybe you want to enter the market at a higher price point and decrease the price over time, which is skimming pricing. Or maybe you want to focus on a small segment of luxury customers, which is premium pricing. Okay, so now let's dive into the different pricing models so you can learn how to come up with a realistic price range for your MVP. As mentioned, the two pricing models we're looking at in this course are value-based pricing and competition-based pricing. When you apply a value-based pricing model, you base a product's price on how much the target consumers believe it's worth. So rather than looking inwardly at your company, for example at your cost structure, or laterally towards competitors, in this case, you only look at your customers and collect feedback on how much they're willing to pay for your product. Competition-based pricing, on the other hand, is a pricing method that involves looking at the prices set by other businesses in the same sector, and then you take those price points as guideline for yourself. In the next step, we want to combine the findings from both pricing models. So at this point, we know how much our customers are willing to pay and how much our competitors are charging for similar products. Here, we see, for example, that our target customers would pay between $40 and $64 for our product. And the price range of our competitors is between $49 and $77. Based on this, we now know that a viable price range for our MVP is between $40 and $77. Now we're moving on to the pricing strategies. As mentioned earlier, there are three main strategies to look at: penetration pricing, skimming pricing, and premium pricing. The first one, penetration pricing, is a pricing strategy used by businesses to attract customers to a new product or service by offering a lower price in the beginning. A really famous example for that is Netflix. They started relatively cheap and have increased their prices many times over the years. Given that our price range should be between $40 and $77, if we wanted to apply a penetration pricing strategy, we would price our MVP at around $40 and then increase the price over time. The second pricing strategy is skimming pricing. It's pretty much just the opposite of penetration pricing. So you start at a high price point and then lower it over time. Again, given that our price range should be between $40 and $77, if we wanted to apply a skimming pricing strategy, we would price our MVP at around $77 and then decrease the price over time. The third pricing strategy is premium pricing. You would apply this strategy if you want to present the image that your products are of high value and quality. The pricing focuses much more on the perceived value of your product rather than the actual value. Again, given that our price range should be between $40 and $77, if we wanted to apply a premium pricing strategy, we would price our MVP at around $77, so at the high end of the spectrum. Just to quickly recap again. Once we have our MVP, we need to validate our pricing assumptions and decide on a price point for the product. In a first step, we gather customer feedback and competitor insights to identify a viable price range. In a second step, we then select our preferred pricing strategy and price point within our viable price range. And this is how you do it. This is how you set the price for your MVP.